get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You say some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me up, let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough. I'll take a face full of brave men just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll put it on your face to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you go wish you shut the fuck up real bad. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back.
Hello, madam. Thank you for your compliance. Just a few more days, we're almost there. We get our liberty back. Hello. Ooh, an anarchist. You must be an anarchist, eh? No mask? Fucking the governor's orders a wee early, huh? Yeah. All right, good sir. Have a good one. You too.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to SpokAnarchy episode 3. I have my friends Gerard and Simon with me again here. So thank you guys for joining me for episode 3. And thank you guys for joining us on Odyssey Live right now. Appreciate that. So you got a couple people watching. So today's show is going to focus on a few different things. As normal, we're going to try to focus on some local issues, but also some national and possibly even some global issues we'll get into. But we got a lot on the slate today, so I'm just going to start it off, I guess, with something Simon brought up with me last week. I guess we did do these topics last week. I'll just bring you up to speed, but I had some technical difficulties, so we're just going to rehash it this week because they're all pertinent topics to what's going on. So Simon brought up this thing that he saw from a local TV station, Creme 2, where Spokane middle schoolers are designing a tool for a SWAT team, and so one of our local stations highlighted it. And of course, it's kind of a propaganda piece to support the police, so we wanted to kind of highlight that and then talk about it a little bit. So I'm going to play that, and then we'll discuss it a little bit afterwards.
Welcome back. There is a local middle school class that is slowly developing a reputation for all the right reasons. From helping sick children to police officers, the advanced engineering class at Sacagawea Middle School is making a big impact in our community.
The young students are designing and creating devices that help people. I recently visited the class to see their latest creation that the SWAT team is now using in the field. It's a story that's Inland North Best.
It's going to be like an exoskeleton.
We have like the square of the camera.
Right now, the kids are all in different groups. Draw it out and then we'll build it.
In Kim Taylor's advanced engineering class at Sacagawea Middle School, ideas come to life.
Do you guys have any drawings?
We have what's called direct drive.
Instead of textbooks and presentations, students use CAD programs and 3D printers to turn sketches into reality.
This is the one that we are printing for the SWAT team.
And their creations are far more than just concepts.
And they lay it on a warm bed.
These middle schoolers are designing and making tools that Spokane police officers use on the streets.
It's fantastic. So they get to meet and know all the different officers. They get to work with them. And then they get to see something that they actually made as an 8th grader come to fruition, actually work. I don't even know what to tell you. They can tell you.
This class is just really interesting.
It's like much more hands-on. It's my favorite class. To create stuff that are going to be used to help other people.
Taylor's students have designed and printed grasping mechanisms for the bomb squad's robot so it can do things like open doors and pick up keys. And just recently, her class came up with a solution for the SWAT team. Corporal Anthony Guzzo now keeps that creation in the back of his cruiser. It's a 3D printed box specifically designed to hold the SWAT team's drones.
They actually came up with the box itself.
The box with the drone inside is then mounted on an extendable pole. It allows officers to use the drone's powerful cameras in situations where it's not feasible to fly. Corporal Guzzo says he tried to create the box on his own, but then turned to Taylor's class for help, and they took it from there.
Knew exactly what I wanted. They're taking measurements, and like there must have been in that first like 5 minutes, like 6 or 7 different ideas that went out as to how they were going to make this happen.
Krem 2 was there as police put the student's creation to use just last month. A robbery suspect was holed up inside an RV in North Spokane. That's Corporal Guzzo using the middle schooler's creation to use the drone to see inside the camper, where the thermal imaging cameras showed them exactly where the suspect was hiding.
It was incredible to see them get to be faced with a real world problem, and then all the way through from design to printing to actually being able to watch that clip from the RV and see things that they had created in their classroom at the middle school level actually used for real life stuff.
The drone is about that large. But
8th grader Josh Souders did the bulk of the work on the creation.
Me too, I know.
One prototype, a lot of measurements, and 70 plus hours of 3D printing later, it was ready for use.
It was definitely exciting. It kind of made me go, oh wow, it's my thing is actually being used out in the field, like in the real world to help me.
The fact that your device could potentially help protect officers in the field, how does that make you feel?
It's great.
So here's the thing.
Taylor urges her students to keep dreaming and keep creating.
And it has to stay exactly where it is.
She wants to show them what they learn here translates to life outside the classroom. As an educator, she says, that's invaluable.
Incredible. Like the best. I feel like it is the absolute way to teach. For the rest of their lives, they'll remember what they were able to accomplish and who they were able to help.
Pretty cool stuff. The class has also designed and created a device for the FBI to help them deal with suspicious packages. And right now they're working on a robotic wheelchair or wheelchairs for local children with disabilities. So a lot going on.
How did he know to go to them?
Okay, so I'm going to stop it there. Basically, we just saw there, in my opinion, it's like a propaganda piece from one of the local news stations here, highlighting how the schools are really helping out the police and this whole idea of protecting the police like they're actually out there doing something good for society. And then just forwarding that with kids. You heard that with the kid there at the end. You know, he's, oh, it feels good to know I'm helping. Well, who is he helping? As the guy asking questions, the interviewer, I said, like, oh, it feels good to know you're helping protect the police and keep them safe. I don't know. I don't know if that's something we necessarily want to be teaching our kids. I don't want to be teaching my kids to be keeping them safe. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, their production, as far as whatever they're making, whatever device, they're learning to use a 3D printer, from what I gather from the story. But the innovation could go to way better different things than trying to help the police.
Right.
You know, take down bad guys.
Absolutely. I see it as an egregious example of brainwashing the children. They don't know any better. They don't know that the police are there to just harass us and collect money for the state. They actually think that the police are there to help protect us. So hopefully we can shine a light on the fact that they are not here to help us. They're here to knock down our door. And that's what the SWAT team does. It knocks people's door down, and most of them are innocent. They don't hear that side of the story. And it reminds me of, you know, if we put it into a different context, police today are the redcoats of yesterday. And so,
right,
liken that to the kids making buttons for the redcoats, for, you know, keep them warm and safe, so they can knock down their doors.
Right. Well, like even at the end there, that they said, you know, other projects that the kids have worked on, they said that they've worked on something for the FBI, but then they threw in there right now they're currently working on like a motorized wheelchair for disabled kids. It seems like, to me, that's what the story should be pushing, is something like that. Like, that's actually helping someone. Like,
right.
They're presenting that, like, keeping the SWAT team members safe as they go bust down someone's door, like Gerard just explained. Like, they're presenting like that somehow is helping someone. That's not helping. It's helping the corporation. Well, we know that's what they want.
And they're doing this right in the midst of news reports from the Department of Homeland Security that calls anybody who isn't on the side of the government a terrorist.
Right?
Right.
It's just insane.
Totally. So I guess as far as we kind of discussed a solution of this kind of aspect last time when we did the last show, because we talked about education. But I guess, since we're trying to stay solutions oriented with this issue, because this is something that happens all across our country, this, these kind of programs and stuff. Just how about let's push, like, if we're going to do this, sticking to the helping, like, build parts for wheelchairs. Things like that are more, I guess, kind of useful to everyday people rather than just helping the corporation.
Right. Like, how, if they can 3D print something, whatever it was, wasn't it like something had to do with like the heat signature off of people's bodies or something?
Right.
I don't know.
That's what they were helping
really...
with the like SWAT team with, so they could like reach it in there and get it at different angles.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, how about like cleaning up environment or non-GMO food or
right.
anything.
Right.
Anything besides like help,
like something that they could develop that would help, like, I don't know, especially in Washington with Mr. Green as our king here. There's got to be some kind of program where they could help, like, clean up a lake or I don't know. Develop
anything, right?
Like that. Or, maybe
anything
even better,
besides what they did.
A better idea, maybe they should 3D print like little like plastic knives that they could get, people could get by airport security. I don't know, just throwing something out there. Any thoughts there,
dude,
Gerard?
they see those in the naked body scanners. Come on.
That sounds good.
Right.
Although you could probably get a regular knife past the TSA anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
That, or maybe they should be printing printable guns or something like that. Something that might be useful against that would actually help people against the government. So that's what they should be doing. Anyways, okay. If there's nothing else there, we will head on to our next topic. Get that up on the screen here. So the next topic is from the Inlander, which is a publication here in the Inland Northwest in the Spokane, Coeur d'Alene area. And I'm a native Montanan, so this caught my eye. Just the headline here says 16 young Montanans will be the first in the nation to take their climate change case to trial. And then, of course, here's pictures of all of them. I mean, for the most part, real quick, links to this and the story we just talked about and everything else are in the description of this video, just like all my other videos. So if you're interested in looking at any of these, and I would recommend checking them out for yourself, the links are in the description of this video. But I mean, this is a typical kind of climate change story here, and how these, kids, these courageous kids are going to, stand up to the unruly corporations and government and, bring our climate under control and save the world. So there's just a few things I wanted to kind of point out here. One of the things they talk about, Glacier National Park, it's kind of personal to me. I spent a lot of time there when I was a kid. And he says, one of the people, let's see, the 8th grade, one of the teachers of one of the 8th graders says that the glaciers in Glacier National Park are going to be gone and our children won't be able to see them. And, this is a big deal because even in the Glacier National Park there, they talk about changing the name of the park because the glaciers are going to be gone. And that's never why it was named that. It was named that because it's a kind of a specimen of like how glaciers form the landside, mountains and valleys and all that. You can really see it because the glaciers are all gone and have been since we've been there, at least. And so that's why we can see how they carved these big valleys. But anyways, moving on. they go on here to say some other things about, you know, they want to be able to ski, but they're not going to be able to ski. They're not going to be able to enjoy the rivers, fishing in the rivers and lakes. One of them here that is part of this lawsuit, they talk about that, well, you know, they rely on a river, a seasonal river, or, you know, a river to get water off that to feed their cattle on this ranch that they own. Well, I know enough landowners in Montana to know that anybody that owns a ranch is not doing poorly for themselves. They're doing all right. So I don't think they need to be suing the federal government because, for whatever reason, you know, to try to change the climate. I don't think that's going to work anyways. Here we go. This is the part I wanted to get to. It says, it's literally their right. One of the unique reasons for starting a climate change case in Montana is that residents have long shown a special respect for the many lakes, rivers, mountains, and open prairie lands that make it a beautiful place to live. The massive, where does that go on here? And I've looked at this for a week now, but it talks about in the Montana Constitution, which I'm going to bring up here, where it actually declares the rights. Here we go. Declaration of Rights, Section 3, inalienable rights. All persons are born free and have certain inalienable rights. And this is what the inalienable rights, sorry. And this is what the article was leaning to, is that Montanans put that right here. It says the first rights are, they include the right to a clean and healthful environment and the rights of pursuing life's basic necessities. So before, like, you know, defense of liberties and all this other stuff in Montana, the Declaration of Rights says that you have the right to a clean environment. And I think that's interesting. I don't know who gave anyone the right to a clean environment and who decides what a clean environment is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did the dinosaurs have a right to a clean environment when they went extinct, and what caused them to be extinct? And was there a government to sue to, you know? I believe the scientific theory is that was climate change. Anyhow, so I just thought that was interesting that the state of Montana can guarantee an unalienable right of the right to a clean environment. I didn't know that was possible. I think, Gerard, you brought up last time that we talked about, well, when was the last time the state of Montana amended that constitution to change that? And
I guessed it was 1993, but it turned out to be 1973.
Yeah, that's right. It was 73. That's right. Because it's like the same year that they started, you know, like Agenda 2020. I guess it was 2021 or whatever at the beginning.
Yeah. In early 70s, the Club of Rome was formed, and they decided that they were going to blame climate change or global warming on mankind. And so that's what they've been doing for the last 50 years. And we know that government has basically been hijacked by these people who
Oh, you lost Gerard for a second there in the middle of his spiel, too. That's no good. Oh, there he's back. All right.
And I'm back.
We lost you for a second, Gerard.
So I was saying that the government is basically just being used as a tool to establish their new world order through man-made.
Right. Right. Yeah, we get where you're going with that. I think, you know, it'd probably be interesting if we pulled up the version of this Constitution before 1973. It would be interesting to see if in the inalienable rights here, if it still said the right to a clean and healthful environment. My guess is that probably wouldn't be included in that.
No, it's a complete scam, and anybody who lifts up even one layer knows it.
Right.
But they just use these extremist groups. They hijack local governments in order to push their agenda, and so we have to be on watch.
Boy, that's censorship in its truest form there, right, man?
Yeah.
Every time Gerard has something profound to say, he cuts out.
Sorry about that. You can just skip me for the rest of the time here.
No, we were saying it's censorship. They're already getting to us, man. All right. Well.
So the other thing about that article is like, what are they suing for? Like, it doesn't say anything specific that what they're suing, and these kids are eating food with plastics and driving cars. So, like, what are they actually going to do to help improve the environment?
Right.
I mean, that's kind of funny.
Right. I'm looking in here. It doesn't say. I don't see anything in here as far as what they're actually like suing for, other than it says.
No, they're. Yeah, because I read it and there's.
Go ahead, man.
I didn't see anything specific.
Right. You're right. It does say in here the. So it says the state's constitution adopted in 1972 and replacing Montana's original 1889 founding document. Of course, I don't recall, but I'm guessing it was probably a constitution in 1889 too. But of course, they're not going to refer to it in this article as a constitution then. They're just referring to the only constitution was this one in 1972.
Right.
That's funny. Well, here it just says basically in their suit, the young plaintiffs call on the state of Montana to stop supporting fossil fuel projects that contribute to climate change and to remediate the harms already caused by intentionally ignoring the impacts that projects may have on the climate. So,
yeah, but did these kids ride their bike to Glacier National Park? No, they drove. Like,
right.
Come on.
Right? My guess is what it's going to do is then we'll create like new oversight committees and all this fun stuff so that, you know, people, these like legislators have things to do.
Yeah, this is what it looks like when they're trying to reduce fossil fuel, which fossil fuel isn't real. We don't even know if dinosaurs were real. Come on. But the price goes up. The price goes up. You just pay for it. Not like nothing is less used. You just pay more to use it. And they're like, idiots, we're getting rich off of this. Yes.
Right.
That's all that's happening.
Right. So the other thing, I guess, regarding a solution for this, the statist, or I guess the statist solution is to sue the state and force the state to regulate corporations and all that through the use of, you know, force and extortion and all that. So as a voluntarist, how would we solve this problem of these poor people that bought a ranch in Montana and not being able to get enough water coming out of the mountains to feed their cattle all summer?
They have too much cattle.
Right.
They're obviously like using up a resource that obviously can be depleted. They're not using it correctly then.
Right. So basically,
there's nothing for.
Go ahead, Gerard.
Every time I open my mouth, I lose my connection. Literally, every time I open it.
Well, we hear you now, man.
It's up to the ranchers to solve the problem. They need to get together and solve the problem themselves. Government gets in the way of them solving the actual problem. Limit wells they can.
Oh man, it's always something.
Right. We don't want to hear Gerard today. We don't want to hear your profound ideas again.
I do not know.
Next time you start talking, just start with the end of what you're going to finish with, because that's always what cuts off.
All right.
All right, no worries. We're working out the kinks here. That's everything else is looking good so far. So, anything. I think you're right, though. It is upon the ranchers to solve this problem. It's not upon these 16 Montana youth that. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to point out. They pointed out here that when this started, it was in 2020, and the kids ranged in age from 4 to 17 years old. Or no, they do now, but it started in 2020.
It's 2.
So yeah, he was the youngest one was
They're
2
2
when this started. So these, they're touting the youth of Montana. The like this 2-year-old actually had the choice to do it. Like it wasn't just their parents going, "No, we're adding you to this." So anyhow, it's upon the ranchers to solve the problem. If they don't have enough water, they got to figure out where to get water. They got to start collecting rainwater better, or collecting the snow better, or it's upon fishermen to make sure that the habitat is good for the fish and they're not overfishing. We can't really do much about nature. I think Mother Nature's proven that.
Yeah.
She's going to do what she wants.
We should also point out that since last week, an article where they found that the glaciers in the Arctic have only receded 3% in the last 50 years.
That doesn't seem so bad to me.
So it was they were supposed to have been gone by 2007, and here we are in 2022, and they've only dropped by 3%, which is probably just part of the normal cycle of things.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And it's an example of all the lies. It's complete and utter lies. They cherry pick,
Right, we're missing out on some more profound stuff.
I know. Low production value, dude. What kind of crap is this?
Okay, so we'll move on here to one thing I just want to bring up real quick. We don't spend a whole lot of time on it. Is the Elon Musk thing. A lot of people are already talking about it, but him buying Twitter. Last week when we were doing the show and we had some technical difficulties with my audio, Gerard pointed out at the time that all Elon Musk was going to do was he was going to buy it, so then he was going to make everybody verify who they were in order to get on there and make statements on Twitter and be able to say whatever they wanted. And I thought it was interesting. I actually heard that during the week. I can't remember where, but I did hear that Elon Musk was going to use it to authenticate, or wanted to authenticate all the users. And so I did actually find it. Yahoo Finance, actually, they've got an article about it. And it actually ties into kind of like, I think it's, I've been reading a lot about him kind of being behind a lot of these cryptocurrency things, and him actually possibly, I don't know if you guys have heard, being, what is it, Shitoki, what's the dude who invented
Satoshi?
Yeah, Shitoki or whatever. Shitoshi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it's not Elon Musk, dude. This guy's so stupid. There's no way. He didn't invent anything.
But he's like super into crypto, right? Like he's been the first like kind of globalist guy to like get into it. So this article kind of ties into that. Like those, some of the blogs I use, like Hive and Twitter and Blurt, or Steam, not Twitter, Steam and Blurt. You have to kind of authenticate who you are in order to earn like the crypto. I mean, you can still kind of fake who you are if you want to. It's not super hard, but the point is he wants to kind of emulate that, I think, with Twitter, and that's what this article gets into. But yeah, he says right here, something else caught my eye in the press release announcing the transaction. In a statement, Musk said, "I also want to make Twitter better than ever by authenticating all humans."
Identification, please.
Right? So, I mean, that pretty much goes right along with what Gerard was saying. That's what, like, Facebook is doing. I'm not on Facebook anymore doing these videos or anything because they wanted me to, I don't know, give them a bunch more personal information than they already had about me. And it looks like that's what he wants to do with Twitter.
Well, it's
Yeah,
not free
it'll
speech
end
if
up
it's
being-
not allowed to be anonymous.
Right, I would agree. I think that's going to be the thing is they're going to claim, oh, well, once you sign on, you'll be able to say whatever you want. Once you authenticate. But like you said,
And we'll know it's you and where you live.
Right? How is that free speech if I have to tell you all the information about myself? All right. Any other ideas about that, Simon, Gerard?
No, I mean, it's just another form of control to where, you're going to get in trouble for saying certain things because obviously we already know we don't have free speech. Like, it's gonna be one of those things where you're going to be shut out of everything. Like, oh, you're in Twitter jail now, and we know exactly who you are because you said something offensive, or we didn't like what you're saying, or you're not towing the line. Like, it's still going in that complete direction. Everybody's seen it. I mean, if you can't see it by now, there's no hope for you.
Some article I read, they were trying to define free speech, and they asked us. That's the answer. You don't have to analyze it any more than that. Is free or is it not free? It's free speech.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, even Elon Musk. I was trying to find this article on Yahoo Finance. I read some where he said he made a comment about Twitter banning someone earlier. He said, "Well, if it's in a gray area, then you got to let it go." I would agree.
Oh, now there's a gray area.
Right. Well, yeah. I guess there is no gray area.
Green means go.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have anything there. Like I said, I didn't want to burn a whole lot of time talking about Elon Musk because a lot of people have, and it's just kind of a distraction. But we do have here in Spokane, Eastern Washington, I should say, not in Spokane. I guess it's kind of the headquarters of it here in Spokane. But we have a little bit of a secession movement from at least for Eastern Washington to secede from the rest of Washington, from Western Washington, basically from the Columbia River and everything east of there. And they want to call it Liberty State, and there's some contention about that.
Oxymoron.
Right. Liberty State. The state exists to remove your liberty, so it's kind of a oxymoron. Right. But they even kind of recognize that on their website. Actually, I'm pulling up their website right now, and there's some. I think it's in the frequently asked questions even here. They're just talking about, do we have to name it Liberty? And basically to say these choices were voted on by more than 1,000 people involved in the movement over 2 years' time. But not to worry, as the Liberty State movement is granted the right of creation, all those things will be voted on by the voters of the Liberty State. So they're just saying that's temporary to give the movement a name, I guess. So we can move past that, I guess. But
it reminds me of there's a business on the Newport Highway right across from North Point Plaza. It's called Liberty Tax. And
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Why we brought this up is we've started some discussions in some local groups here about secession, and of course there's not a whole lot of agreement on what that means. Do you ask permission? If you go the legal route, that's like Gerard, I think I read a comment that you made that is really the only way to interact with the state at this point, is to let them know that you're seceding and don't really want to be involved anymore. But I guess I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, when we talk about voting, we don't like the idea of voting for a politician, but there's nothing wrong with expressing your desire to not be part of the federal government. That's a form of voting, which is fine.
Right.
Sure. It's just a friendly neighbor reminder. I don't want to be a part of your club.
Yeah.
So, you know,
But-
I don't have the quote right in front of me, but, you know, did cite a quote from a book basically just kind of saying that why secession doesn't work from like an anarchist or a voluntarist point of view. And I would agree with a lot of it. And the gist of it is basically because you're either asking the king and his for to not be part of the system anymore, and they're not really just going to grant you that, or you have to go ask them to do that, and then they're going to say no, and then they're going to, you know, when you try to do it, then you're going to have to actually use force against them to secede. So, but I mean, that's just the point of view of, because the government's just not going to allow it, though, so secession isn't going to work. But ultimately, secession could be, you know, like the three of us have talked about, buying property, and there you go. That's, you know, just saying we're not going to partake in this anymore. You know what I mean? Like, that's seceding.
That's framed in the idea that we consented to it in the first place. And it's obvious that you cannot consent for other people, especially people that aren't born yet. So we're only declaring our own independence today, regardless of who thinks they enshrined this Constitution 250 years ago. We didn't consent to it, and we don't consent to it now.
No. Yeah. And these people trying to succeed from, like, make 2 states in Washington, obviously, like, they're not trying to succeed from the federal government. They're just taking Western Washington and be like, you have those laws, but we're moving these laws over here. So they're not, like, it's still a set of, like, rules, and they're going to still use the exact same, quote, government implications and applications and run it the exact same way. Nothing's going to change. They just think it's going to be better because it's what they want. It's great because what we want, but they're still going to force people in Eastern Washington to follow what they want. So it's like they're just making tyranny bigger, but in their own way.
Right.
Like, they're not even smart enough to get what they're doing.
Right.
I'm sorry to say. Like,
well,
like,
yeah, you know, I presented that to them in the past, and when there was some discussion in a couple of forums I'm in about, you know, the Liberty State and going to meetings and all that, and that's kind of what I presented is, okay, so if you guys do this when the federal government comes to take my resources and calls it taxes, is the Liberty State militia or the residents of Liberty State going to come to my aid in defense of my property as I would yours? You know what I mean? And of course, it was all crickets then. So obviously, they're now wanting to secede from that. It does say in their top 5 frequently asked questions: who will pay for roads, pensions, etc. Basically says the intent is to restore the republic form of government where every state is required to provide for its citizens. So it doesn't really answer who's going to pay for it. It just kind of says, you know, we want to restore. It says we want to restore liberty.
Right. Why is everybody hung up on roads? Like, is that the only thing they could think of? Somebody has to pay for roads. Like, that's the one I hear all the time.
Because people don't want to have to like give up this idea that, like, being free means that you have to be self-reliant, and you're not self-reliant. Like, we're not self-reliant. We need roads because, like, I need to go to the grocery store tonight to get something for dinner when we're done with this. You know what I mean? I'm not self-sufficient enough, so I need a road. But, like, the road we're going down and, like, we're encouraging others to go down is to be self-sufficient, so that roads are like, oh, I'd like to go play at the lake this weekend, so let's build a way to get there and let's figure out how to pay for it.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Cars 30 years ago. Where did those go?
Right. Well, I mean, I guess it's like the chicken and the egg question. You know, what came first, the road or the car? I mean, was someone sitting around like going, "Man, I got this road, but I have nothing to use on it."
Yeah. So yeah, succeeding, like, I don't know. It's funny. It cracks me up.
So could you, I guess, so the other thing that the book, that quote, I can't even think of the name, the title of the book right now, but it brought up is, so if you do that, if you do secede, you will inevitably have some people within your region that you're declaring that don't want to be in your region. So then you're kind of, and then you're forcing your way on them, just like, you know, your old tyrant was doing to you.
Right.
And I guess, like Gerard said, you know, if you look at all that through the eyes of a constitution and all that, I kind of would agree. But like I said, I think everybody looks at these through like a historical lens that maybe we shouldn't be, these kind of things, because like I said, why can't we just have some property and just, we can say, okay, we're seceding from the United States, we're creating our own thing here. And
it's not you, it's us.
Right. Yeah, and it doesn't and it doesn't have to be like anybody else involved in that. Like there's no fourth person in between us somewhere, you know, that's going, no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, and we're not going, you have to though.
Right. And then
that's the difference.
If someone else wants to join us, then they can either figure out how to come in our space with us, or they can acquire some space next to ours and say, hey, yeah, we want to join you guys. And then it's still just the amount of people that voluntarily have decided to be there.
It's so simple. You're not free unless you're allowed to leave.
Right.
Right.
Otherwise, you're a prisoner.
Right. So I guess just step back then. We look at freedom as like, oh, I live in a free country, but so I can leave the United States, right, and go to another country, but I can't leave the central banking system.
Right.
So maybe that's...
What's that Eagles song? The Hotel California?
Yeah.
Was it like you can never leave? But... Yeah. You could check out, but you can never leave.
Right, right.
So being part of the federal government is
oh man,
I agree with you there, Gerard. I agree wholeheartedly. Well, I guess I would say that we should maybe, when we talk about secession, and maybe we should continue this, maybe we should try to end all of our shows with a little talk about secession. But I would say, rather than talking about separating and removing ourselves from a government entity, which obviously does have a ruling structure, we should talk about seceding from the world banking structure, because ultimately that's the thing that governs over us that we can't seem to remove ourselves from, at least not very easily. You know, like I said, we can leave. Because the argument, if we can't leave, well, I can leave the United States, I can leave Mexico, I can leave the country. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no matter where you go, you're going to get caught in the banking system.
Right. Unless you try to go to Libya a few years ago. They're at least trying to have the gold standard.
Right.
Not saying it was probably the best place to be. I don't really know. I can't say. I wasn't there. Don't have any first-hand
Supposedly he did primary water, man, was giving free water to all the country.
I've heard that. I've heard a lot of that kind of stuff. And like, I'd like to believe it. I'd like to believe there's someone that was trying to do some good in this world that had some power like that, but I don't know.
Right, yeah, totally. Yeah, I have no idea.
So, okay, anything else as far as secession for this evening?
Well, it's kind of funny because it kind of ties back into the Montana Constitution where it says the right to like basic necessities to live. So it's like, it's basically telling you like you have the right to basic necessities only if you pay for them.
Right.
So it's just kind of funny, man. Are you vacuuming, Gerard?
He doesn't want to say that he can get censored again.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do we have anything else for tonight for the secession talk?
No, I could probably look into it a little more and have some more information on it next week. Gerard's like MIA, so every time he starts talking, he gets cut out. Which he always brings up great points. I'm like, darn it.
Right. All right. Yeah, I'll see if I can work on something to make sure all our feeds are a little bit better for next time. But I think we did pretty good. I do have a video, some more stately to close out the show with. And just let everyone know, so these stately clips we're bringing in, we shot these, it was like March 9th, I believe it was. That was March 12th was when the King of Washington declared that we wouldn't have to be wearing masks indoors anymore. So he didn't rescind the emergency declaration, and he still hasn't, though. So everybody keep that in mind. But so we wanted to go down to the bus plaza in downtown Spokane and just kind of have some fun with people and try to get them to understand that the only reason they were wearing their masks at that point was because the governor had said they had to for 3 more days. It wasn't because public health at that point. So that was the point of doing it. And we got some interesting reactions, so I thought I'd put together a few clips here. So we'll close it out with that. And you guys, I think I might be able to pull that up so even you guys can watch that. Try that real quick. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and join us again next Sunday for episode 4. We'll have some new topics as well as some more discussion on the secession topic. Maybe we'll talk about the Ukraine war. You know, I guess, well, real quick while I'm pulling up this video, the Ukraine war, that has a lot to do with secession. That kind of is what started all this back in 2014. What was it? Crimea seceded, and then the Donbass and the Lugansk region or something like that, they seceded from Ukraine.
They tried to.
Yeah, they tried to. And, you know, I mean, I don't know. I can't verify any of this, like I said, but it's my understanding that they had, it was like 96% of the people voted to secede and leave Ukraine, at least in the Donbass region. And Ukrainians wouldn't have that, so they've been fighting ever since. And finally, allegedly, Russia is now going in to keep the peace and allow them to be a free sovereign nation. If you want to believe that's what they're going in for.
So I guess succession doesn't work. Look what happens. Start a war, damn it.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, a government wants the resources to be able to sell to their, sell the rights to those resources to corporations. So they're not going to let someone just secede and have that real estate.
Right.
Yep.
You thought you were free.
Right. Okay, here, let me get these pulled up and we'll close out the show. Thanks for joining me, guys. I do appreciate that. And for the rest of you, have a good night. And thank you for joining us.
This man is a hero. He's diligent in making everyone cover their faces. The hero. Hero, I tell you. Thank you, good sir, for your diligence in making them all come in their places. Just a few more days left. Not about public health anymore. Thank you. Thank you for your due diligence, sir, making them wear face coverings. You're a hero to us all during this public health crisis. Just a few more days.
Like a bigger mascot, like.
A bigger mascot? Oh.
Yeah, like it creeps me out, man. Like with the big old head and then.
Well, you know, it's winter time.
It's
winter time, you know. It's been hard to eat a little bit, but the lakes are fine. I'll be able to stay soon. Thank you. Look, you're in charge of compliance with the yellow vest. You're in charge of compliance with the yellow vest, right? Yeah, buddy. Absolutely, all right. Just a few more days, boys. Keep it up. Yes. Hello. Oh, you guys have your masks on. You guys are fucking your governor's orders a little bit early, I see. Oh, some anarchists here. Yes, watch out. Hey, why did you get help? Oh, no, I don't think I do any news. Okay. Yes, sister. Oh, you got me, didn't you? Yes.